just printed off the recipe for my sourdough focaccia pizza. You can find this on my website, amybakesbread.com. Print out the recipe and it's gonna help you through all of these steps. Honestly, this is not that difficult of a recipe. It just takes some time to ferment, and it is the best pizza. You're going to love this. We're gonna start with our ripe active bubbly sourdough starter. In my recipes, I have a levain step, which is basically just a power feeding for your sourdough starter. So if you have ripe bubbly active starter, you can use that. Or I do recommend, if your starter's been in the fridge, especially for a while, do the levain step. You're gonna end up with a better bake. I always like to use a kitchen scale. So we're gonna go ahead and tare my scale and pour in 80 grams. Whoops, make sure it's on grams. Pour in 80 grams of this bubbly active starter or levain. I would have mixed this levain up last night, let it sit, and then it would be ready for me this morning, which is basically what I did. I fed my starter last night, so it would be ready for me this morning. My kids have been dying for this pizza, and they have a pep band game tonight. So they're actually playing a doubleheader. So 3 of my teenagers are in the pep band at the high school, and I told them I would have dinner for them so they could eat and then go to their games. And this is what they're gonna be eating. So I'm excited because they love this. I'm gonna surprise them with it. Okay, I've got my levain or starter in there. I'm going to add my water. Now I use a warmer water here because I want this dough to be in the 78, 80 degree range because I want to bake it for tonight. So I'm kind of on a time crunch here. So you can impact how quickly your dough rises by using a warmer water, keeping it in a warmer place. Temperature is really important to how sourdough works. And so we're gonna manipulate it a little bit to work in our favor, kind of try to keep this a little on the warmer side so that we'll move a little bit faster, so we'll be ready in time for dinner tonight. I'm just gonna mix up the starter and the water in here. Now, a lot of times I do a fermentalise where I'm mixing the starter, the water, and the flour together. And that just kind of gives a little head start to the gluten before I add in the salt. So I do have that in the recipe, but today, because I'm on a time crunch, I'm just gonna add everything in together and mix it up. It will be great either way, but if you really want, if you're really into like the structure and the crumb, add those fermentalise steps. Do everything you can to encourage that gluten formation. This is a really high hydration, means a lot of water in this dough, and that's what gives those like airy, bubbly, you know, crispy crust. All of that works together. And so you definitely can do more or less depending on what you want for your finished product. With this type of a bake, because this is pizza dough, I mean, honestly, you're gonna put all this cheese and toppings on it, so I feel like it's okay if you add the salt now. We're gonna use bread flour, and then we'll put the salt in here. So I'm adding in my bread flour. Bread flour just gives a little more chew, and I think it is a little bit of a better vehicle for the toppings and everything. But if you had all-purpose flour, or even if you wanted to sub some whole wheat in here, you could totally do that. And then we're gonna add the salt right on top. Okay, we are just mixing this together into like a shaggy kind of a dough. Then we're gonna cover it and let it sit for 30 minutes. And I'll come back in 30 minutes and show you how we start doing these gentle folds. We're gonna be using some coil folds today, just to develop the gluten and the crumb of this dough. But really this is so simple. It's literally just mixing it up, checking your temperature, keeping, you know, your temperature in check here, and doing some simple folds, and then just giving it time to rise. I have behind me my bread proofer, I have a dough mat, so if I need to use those today, I will. I like to check the temperature of my dough, just so that I know kind of what I'm dealing with here, and it is actually like 84, so I did use a warmer water today. So this is gonna be fermenting a little bit faster, which is kind of what I wanted because I need to make this a little earlier today. Just trying to make it work for me. Other ways that you could speed up a process like this, add in more starter. So instead of the 80 grams, I could have done like 100, 120 grams of starter. That would have sped it up a little bit more too. Keeping it warm is gonna help. I don't typically like to go over like 86, 87. I don't want it to be that high in temperature, but anywhere 70, 78 to 82, 83, I think that that's fine. Anyway, I'm talking your ear off about temperature, but here we go. I'm gonna cover this up and we'll come back to it in 30 minutes. Let me show you what it looks like first so you can see. Just a shaggy dough. It's all come together. We'll come back and do our first fold in 30 minutes. We are 30 minutes in. I'm gonna take off the lid, and I like to get my hands a little bit damp as I'm working with this wetter dough. We're gonna come in and do our first set of coil folds. You just pull right up. I'm gonna turn the bowl and do the same thing here. Up, down. Now at this point, I do like to kind of check the temperature and see how the temperature is doing. Make sure that I'm keeping this in a warm place. I just go up and look at how much that has changed just in those set of folds. So I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna keep it warm so that I encourage that fermentation. We'll come back in 30 minutes. It's been another 30 minutes. We're gonna take this out and do our second set of coil folds. Get my hands wet a little bit. We're gonna come right in here, pull up. You can see how this dough just develops really nicely. This is what the coil is when you pull it up, and it forms this little coil. Put it back down. And that's our second set. We're gonna cover it, keep it warm again. We'll come back to this in 30 minutes. Third set of coil folds. Got my water again. You can see how this dough is really coming together. It doesn't need very much folding. Now, we're gonna do one more set. Let this ferment a little longer, and we'll do one more set in 30 minutes. Last set of coil folds. You can see it's even starting to rise a little bit. Just beautiful. I love when you get to this last set and you can just see how well this gorgeous dough is coming together. So pretty. And it's very fun to work with. All right, we're gonna set this in here, let it rise again. And we're looking for probably a 30-40% rise for another maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. Then we're gonna plop it in the pan and let it rise again some more. All right, it's been about an hour and a half. You can see how this is now doming here, and there's some scattered bubbles around, okay? This is ready for me to put into a pan. So we're gonna go and transfer this dough into a pan. Now I'm making this tonight for my family, so I'm gonna let it rise in the pan, and then we will bake it up in a couple of hours. It still needs to rise more than this in the pan. If I didn't want to bake it up yet, I could stick this in the fridge at this point, either in the bowl or put it in the pan and then stick it in the fridge and let it ferment overnight, which really makes a great delicious focaccia as well. So you could do that as well, but for this pizza, I want to make it tonight, so I'm gonna pull it out, let it rise again or rise some more, and then we will dimple it, top it, bake it. We are going to use a 12-inch round pan for this pizza tonight, and I am just covering the pan in olive oil. You want to use about maybe 50 grams, a quarter of a cup or so of oil on the bottom of the pan. This gives you that really crispy delicious focaccia style crust. And so we're gonna put the pizza dough, which is our focaccia dough, right in here. I like to just kind of pull it out a little bit, try to get it to the edges, but don't worry too much. You don't want to tear the dough at all. Don't worry too much if it won't go all of the way yet. That's okay. It's still got some time and some room left to rise. Now this is a little bit different from my regular sourdough focaccia recipe. I've actually made it a little bit less dough for this pizza recipe because I wanted a little bit better topping to dough ratio. So if you see that, you may wonder why that's different. That's why. All right, we've got our dough nice in there like that. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this up again. We're gonna let it rise for another couple of hours. It's going to really rise quite a bit. Then we'll be able to dimple it and top it before we bake it. I just went and picked up my little guy from school. My focaccia is ready to go. I'm gonna dimple it up, add all my toppings, and when my kids get home, they're gonna be able to eat because they gotta get out the door and get to activities tonight. This focaccia pizza dough is perfect. I'm gonna add a little drizzle of oil on the top and then just smooth that around with my fingers a little bit. You can see how this has really like risen out and is going to dimple up really nicely. If I go like this, see all those beautiful little dimples there from the focaccia, air bubbles. Now we're gonna top this with our sauce. I have a homemade pizza sauce on the recipe card that's really good. And this one I had some leftover in my fridge, so that's what I'm using today. But you can make that sauce and it can stay in your fridge for, you know, 5 days or so. And then you could also just use like a marinara from the store. I have made this pizza different ways before. Before I've actually par baked this crust and then taken it out after maybe like 10-15 minutes and added the toppings on. And you can do it that way if you find that yours is burning. You can also try to decrease the oven temperature a little bit. I've made it both ways and we like it like this. So I just think it's easier to put it. We like it both ways, but this is just easier for me to top the whole pizza right now. Now, here's the fun thing. My husband and I, he grew up in Detroit, Michigan. So this is like Detroit style pizza for us. And we don't have brick cheese. We can't get that here where we live. And so I found that a combination of Havarti, so that's why it's looking like this because I'm just peeling it apart. So some Havarti cheese and some Monterey Jack, and then mozzarella give that similar flavor combination. And so that's what I like to use on this pizza. And I am somebody who, I like to put my toppings like kind of mixed in with the cheese. So it's not just all on the cheese, but it's kind of mixed in there too. So you can do it that way or do it however you like. You can add whatever toppings you like to this pizza. It's gonna bake for about 30 minutes in the oven. I'm gonna add the rest of my cheese on top of here. I'm using some fresh mozzarella because I love it. But you could put any mozzarella that you shred yourself. I don't love the bagged pre-shredded stuff as much. If that's all you have, it can work. All right, we're topping this thing with lots of cheese. This is our favorite pizza. This is the one my husband asked for his birthday. It's just so good. All right, I'm gonna go in now, dimple it up even a little bit more, and this is ready to bake. We're gonna bake this focaccia Detroit style pizza 450 degrees. If that's too hot for you, you can decrease it to 425 for about 30 minutes until it's bubbly, golden, baked through completely. You are gonna love this one. Oh, this looks so good. Oh, those crispy edges. Look at that. This pizza looks phenomenal. Look at that. This is my family's favorite. I am so excited. That crispy cheese. I let this sit for probably like 5 or 10 minutes in the pan, and then we'll remove it from the pan. Does this not look like the most delicious pizza ever? All right. Comes right out of the pan, especially if you get these USA pans and they're nonstick. Oh, look at this crust. Honestly, it's incredible. It's so crispy. Oh, this is my favorite pizza. I'm gonna cut into this slice here that's already cheesiness. Oh, okay. Wow. Let me go this way so you can see the cheese coming off of this. Cheesy goodness right there. It's nice to let this set up a little bit because there is a lot of cheese, but talk about delicious. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a fork to try a bite of this, or maybe I can just snag a little corner. Little pepperoni. A little bit of cheese. Nothing compares to this. This is the best pizza. Sourdough Focaccia Pizza. It's Detroit style. I'm Amy, amybakesbread.com. Go get the recipe. Go make this. It's incredible.